Court is now in session. Thank you for coming to the Challengers League court. Today, we in fact have the top laner of Wildcard, Zamudo. Zamudo, you are accused of having purchased 0 control wards this season. How do you plead?
I plead guilty.
Guilty?
Yeah.
Guilty?
Yeah.
Pleads guilty. Do you feel this is the appropriate number of control wards to be purchasing?
Nah, I mean, control words, completely useless. Like, I'm just trying to buy my damage items, and then we win. GG.
Another witness from another team saying that you have been putting down your yellow trinkets as late as 6 minutes into the game.
Yeah, yellow trinkets are a crutch for bad players.
We are calling Dombre to the stand.
Honestly, I think I'm a fan. If you're like a carry top laner, like buying pink 75 gold, it's just like, it's like not worth it.
You say that as a carry top laner, you know, you can spend that gold on more damage items, but are you aware that your top laner has played 7 games of Gragas this season?
Oh, I mean, he's got to get the items. It's okay, it's okay. Like tank items, they're pretty OP. You soak up the damage, so I guess it's fine.
Heel to the stand. Could you give us a character witness as to whether or not this is appropriate behavior from your top laner?
Given how he uses the words he has, I think it's very appropriate, yeah. Today we told him the word Herald and he failed the word over the wall. I think it's a great decision. To be fair, Zamudo is pretty good about using blue trinkets. Deligo and Dombre overly buy words to compensate. I think Zamudo should just buy slightly more.
Deligo, is there anything that you would like to say in his defense?
In his defense?
Or offense? If you want to be part of the prosecution, you can.
Yes, I think I might have to prosecute him for this. I don't think I've ever seen that before in my 4 years of being a pro player.
Are you aware that expert testimony LS upon this realization said good?
Yes, I am aware of that. Some people buy too many pink wards, and I think that some people buy too few pink wards, and that there is always a healthy balance, just like everything in life.
Lens, can you speak to some of the pain and anguish that this has caused you?
My top laner just playing for gold. He doesn't value pink ward. I think it has to be punished.
What do you think would be an appropriate sentence?
10 games of required to buy 2 pink wards every back.
The court hereby finds Zamudo guilty and sentences him to 10 games of community service. Court adjourned.
Welcome back, everyone, to LCS Challengers game number 1 of AOE versus Wildcard. I was almost going to say Maryville for a second. My brain was a game back. But the whole thing was team fight heaven. They got really, really bloody really early. Ultimately, got to give the hats off to AOE. They're continuing their momentum.
I mean, we were looking at the team fighting going into this, right? And it was one of the things highlighted of these teams. And AOE, they got the gold early. I think that Will did a good job of not letting the early lead of Keel put him in a worry headspace and was making the plays to get the rest of the squad set up.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said it on the cast, but when you have a lot of extra gold on Sejuani, like, who cares? If Keel was playing like Karthus, Kindred, and he's like doubling CS of his opponent, that's a different story. But that was not the story we were told in game 1, so props to AOE.
It tankier, but you don't necessarily do that much more damage, so that was hurt for Wildcard when it did come to that 5v5, but AOE ultimately going to be victorious in that game number 1. Now it's time for our Rally Cry halftime show, so let's get to it. It's going to be a game that we call Emote Spam. Now, the rules are very, very simple. We're just going to look over some clips and we're going to give our reactions in emote form. You'll just tell me what it is and I will throw it up on the clip for you. Rules clear?
Yeah.
I think so.
All right. So let's start off right away. Let's get to work on this one because I got 6 clips that I want to throw up. Starting with 2 that are kind of back-to-back. We'll start with 1 first, and then we'll get into the second one. How are we feeling about this? Zamudo in the early game decides to take it to concept. Straight up, first blood, 1v1, solo bolo from one of our more prestigious rookies coming in this split. How are we feeling?
I feel like you gotta go smack, right?
Ooh, I think you're right.
Guy just walks up and smacks him.
Yeah, I think For me, it's probably the Eric emote. You know, the down?
It's the down. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They do have similar.
No, you know, I want you to know this was not like, when you said smack, had no idea what you were talking about, I swear. And it wasn't until that one popped up, I'm like, oh my god, wait, it's Smackdown. So that worked out unplanned.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like actually unplanned. So let's go.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the emotes do not change that much for this next one, because a few minutes later, we get another 1v1, except Zamudo is not the one taking the dub this time. It's Concept who gets the better of the duel.
My emote changes for sure. It's definitely the it's probably the Sag emote. Because that's not supposed to happen.
Beat's feeling a little down, Gabby.
Feeling a little Sag.
See, I feel like it has to be like stare because of the context of the first kill between the two. And then it's that coming back for it and just Zamudo. Oh.
Okay,
Or even his jungler is just like, if he looked into the camera like it was The Office, that's the face he's making.
Yep, just you know, when the jungler says, "Hey, what happened?" and you go,
It's like, I was on my way.
Yeah, you know, it happens every now and then. You know, you have those problems. By the way, every time someone says stare, I always get confused with which emote it is. I think of this one as Plink because it's actually designed behind Plink.
Yes.
I wish we could get it animated. That would be really nice.
Hey, maybe later.
Yeah, you know, if people sub more,
Exactly.
and then it's like, oh yeah, what are we gonna keep building the content out for people to continue subscribing to? Maybe just some fancy.
I mean, maybe this halftime show is a little incentive. Moving on to our third clip. Let's see. This one is a little rough for Concept right here. How does it feel to be in his shoes right here when you got three people just surrounding you like sharks, and it's like three jaws surrounding your turret right now, and you know you are dead to rights? How are we feeling?
I feel like we're gonna go with lull because I'm pretty sure this is where so Concept ends up getting dove on the top side, and they do all this work, but all the while his bot lane is pushing, and I think ends up getting the first turret. So it's like, yeah, things are unfortunate for me up here, but lol, I'm the tank, and I'm gonna do stuff later anyway.
It's all planned.
Calculated. And Concept, he's good at math.
Yeah, because a dive happened right after this in bottom lane that was in favor of AOE, so you're very much right, Gabby.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I would rather use the Giga Chad personally, but I do like the wall. Because, you know, just the Giga Chad top laner, he's like, yes, let me draw all the pressure while my team wins the game. That's Concept right there.
You know what? I gotta agree with both of you. I definitely like the lull because it's part of the plan, but the Giga Chad is how much this man takes on the chin and keeps walking and takes away so much time from Wildcard.
It's a big chin.
Yeah, that's true. You need a big chin if you're gonna take a lot on the chin.
Yeah, you hopefully hurt their fists in the process as well. Some extra damage. You know, punching actually hurts.
Poor Flowers, man.
A lot.
Poor Captain Flowers.
Yeah, that's why I got
he's
Flowers
hurting.
as a chin, just to, play-by-plays go through a bashing, you know.
All
They feel every hit that everyone that dies is in the game, you know. So you gotta.
Oh damn!
It's a good thing I'm on flex roll
so
this
passionate.
time. All right, this next one, I know, Beat, this is gonna hurt you inside to see again, but witness and be in awe, maybe not in the best of ways, but Zamudo. Zamudo, you called this out many times. Zamudo didn't build for a 1v1 against a Scion. Concept's just gonna win it, bro.
Yeah, you see the ult from Lynx, and he's like, oh, never mind, my bad. It'll be up in like 60 seconds anyway. It's chill. So just to be clear, it's not what I would spam, it's what they would spam, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I've been doing what I would spam, but
there. I'm not gonna lie, me too, kind of, but I just remembered.
Okay. If you were in their shoes, how you would feel?
Okay. It's the Heimer mode. The what is it? Not like this. Especially if
really
that was my top laner and I was like on the team, I would just be like,
It's like no. See, I feel like I'm gonna go for one where the name of the emote doesn't make sense, but the look of it. So backdoor, obviously has a very particular application in game, but the image of just being like, I'm
out.
gonna leave now. Yeah,
That's really good, actually.
Bye. That's what I get here. That would be my exit.
That's real, because this is literally the moment where I'm like, all right, Zamudo's not in this game anymore. It's done.
Yeah.
Okay. We only got time for one more clip, so we're going to get to that right away before we conclude the show. And this is happening over here for poor Soligo. He thinks he got away, got the Spirit Rush. Oops. There's Breezy. Oops. There's a bomb. How are we feeling?
Which one for this one? I feel like a checkmate, because it almost feels, everyone else sets it up, and then Breezy coming on the other side is the checkmate of it.
That's good.
Okay, we got the checkmate up.
Got you.
For sure. I think Soligo's POV is the stare. Because, you have the Hex Gates, man. He's like, oh my god, I got this. I'm out. He thought he was the checkmate face. And then Breezy shows up.
Oh, they work together well. They do.
All right, that is going to do it for our halftime show. We do have the draft ready for game number 2 after all that fun. Oh, be sure to remember, subscribe if you want any of these emotes that were displayed on the stream. And now I can give it back over to Gabby. So go ahead and take it away.
Our last game of our first cast together, Beatdown.
I know. Time just flies so fast.
So fast.
It's almost over.
So let's make the best of it. Wildcard versus AOE. I hope they make the best of it with a great showing. Yeah, let's go.
Like a 1 hour banger or something. Maybe. I might pay.
As long as it's good throughout.
Yeah. I might have to pay a guy to unplug Lynx's internet again, so this game gets delayed or something. Just gotta extend it.
Oh yeah, they're like, not like this. Not after all the tech issues before. Don't be
exactly. That's why I thought of Lynx exactly.
Yeah. Lynx is in a better position last game than maybe in some past ones in terms of tech and in carrying the game. Yeah. Of course, that's why Wildcard takes the Ziggs away, though. They don't want him back on the pick. The Ziggs for Lynx and the Tristana for Darkwings were able to do so much, not just in terms of damage output in the fights, but the sieging potential they offer together. It felt like Wildcard never really got the chance to be able to fight against them once they were pressuring their turrets.
Yeah, it felt like they were really never in this game after actually one of the clips we looked at during that game where they dove topside, the kill concept, but Lens died on the other side of the map, and it really felt like it was over from that moment. So now they got rid of some of the reasons that AoE were able to do so, and they're going to first pick the Azir, which has popped up a lot in priority. I think it is good. First pick, though, we're leaving up things like Ivern, Sejuani,
It's one of Soligo's best picks historically, so maybe attempting to give him a bit of personal security on a comfort pick that also happens to have risen once again within the meta, as Azir tends to do. Yeah. And the answer to that is Will be grabbing up Sejuani. Was able to put in work on the Maokai. Keel on the Sejuani in game number 1 did a lot to invade and try and delay Will as much as possible and put him behind, but Will ended up getting value when he did spend time in lanes, which paid off in the long run. But a different pick that will have some of the same identity in the end.
Yeah, I gotta say, the Sedge came through as expected, but the really early Jax pick for Concept, he's been leaning on that one a little more as of recent memory, but really bold to just blind topside on R2 like that. So Concept throwing down the glove, says Zamudo, you're a fraud. I can blind right now, and it doesn't matter.
100% win rate on the Jax, so that'll give you a bit of confidence to go ahead and blind that towards the top lane, which looks like it will likely be Jace for Zamudo, who has played 2 games of Jace, just 1-1 on it so far. I think Wildcard in general, these are all picks with which all of the players are familiar. You've got Aphelios coming to Lens, and I think they really do want to avoid the 0-2. This is a team that is towards the top of the standings, 60% win rate in terms of games, falling currently just below Team Liquid Challengers and FlyQuest Challengers and want to be able to maintain their spot in this higher echelon. And with AOE kind of being in that middle of the pack, only a couple games off of those that are ahead of them, 2-0 for them right now could do a lot in pushing them towards a better playoff positioning.
Yeah, I mean, it would be so big for AOE to be able to pick that one up. Now, looking at the comp they have overall, really, the only thing missing is mid and support. So Dark Wings, though he doesn't have the Tristana that he's super comfortable with, maybe another damage threat because Ashe is a little more utility even with the Trinity Force coming through. And I'm glad AOE went for the double jungle ban. Not picking jungle on 3 there for Keel is interesting. I want to see what route he goes because Wildcard, they're kind of lacking in the frontline department. You have 3 very strong damage threats who scale well, who are going to love all the gold that they may potentially pick up in the early game. But who's frontlining for them is the question. So there's pressure for a tank jungle, tank support combo to come through here. Ooh, and Darkwings, he sees how squishy this composition is and says, oh baby, let me play the Zed. It's historically very good into the Azir, but it's still a counter matchup we don't actually see very often. So that's cool.
Yeah, a unique pick coming into this game, considering that Darkwings has yet to play Zed this split. We love the fact that in the NACL, I feel like players do have more of a tendency to think in terms of what are direct counters to a matchup as opposed to what exists in the meta that people, technically bring through. Oh, we are getting all the different looks today.
He's bringing back the Nunu, which I'm so excited about. As someone who used to play a lot of Nunu, Keel even has said that he doesn't believe the champion is very strong at the moment here. But you needed some kind of low economy frontline jungler and someone with CC. It pairs up really nicely with the Braum, and it is really hard to objective fight against. This is something that was so big for Keel in spring, and it fits right here, right now with what Wildcard need.
Look at what we're getting. I mean, we won it an exciting last game, and I think the draft itself shows that. It also dictates, or at least gives us a bit more info on why Wildcard were willing to wait so long before locking in their support in jungle. Because it's very important to get good picks there when that is a lot of your engage. That's what you're looking to protect these carries. But if you know that you're never going to end up getting a Nunu ban and that's the direction you want to go, then by all means, try and draw some of the bans out. And we got the Janna on the other side that we were talking about. So, Beatdown, what do you make of the draft?
I like it. The lane phase is going to be really nice for Lynx and Breezy, so the Janna pick ends up being really nice, especially with Wildcard trying to all in. That Monsoon will be a great way to break up the fight. So you have lane push, dragon stacking, big thing for me for AoE, but the scaling is there for Wildcard, which is why that buff will be so important.
And if Wildcard can scale into the late game, they have a chance to take it over, but they can't let AoE get ahead like they did in game number 1. But I think being that AoE is also coming with a very different draft here on Red side, that their strategy is also quite altered.
Yeah, absolutely. And a quick shout out to Esports AoE, the Twitter. I mean, they did call it Triss Ziggs GG in the early minutes of game 1. And it turns out they were right. And clearly, they also feel that Darkwings and Lynx earned those bans. But back to what you said, AoE, they are coming at it with a bit of a different strategy here. Concept on the Jax, you said it, 100% win rate is also an exciting one. You're going to get pushed in because it is Jace. It's what he does. Even though we don't see Jace a lot in the top side, it was something Zamudo played a lot when he was in the Proving Ground circuit playing for teams like Third Party. Very proficient on the champion.
Yeah. And again, a lot of times in the second game of these matchups, when a team is coming off of a loss, they do tend to go towards the picks that they personally are more connected to in terms of historical experience. Tell me more about what you think is going to come from this Zed in mid, coming as an answer to the Azir, but for Darkwing specifically.
So this one is interesting. I've never seen Darkwings play the pick, but as far as when we're talking about this level of play, these players can play basically any champion reasonably, which is something you can expect. The Zed, though, is a very uncommon one. Even previously when it was in the meta, it was in the jungle. But it is a statement pick for me for Dark Wings, a player who I felt really struggled in spring, even has some of his share of struggles in summer split. So being able to lock in a champion like Zed, where it is a good lane matchup, and you are looking to dive the backline here, you kind of skip the front line with that death mark, and that's what we're looking to see happen here for Dark Wings.
Ooh, but on the top side, in the other solo lane, Flash was just drawn from Concept on the Jack. So Zamudo, who loves to play aggressively in lane, to a fault sometimes, we saw in the last game. But here, it pays off by securing that early summoner. And with Keel's pathing, maybe there's an opportunity to capitalize, but Will is also here to match.
I like that Keel is moving up topside too to make sure he's here just to hover. You don't want to actually dive Concept here, but I lied. He's bringing the biggest snowball ever, and he's liking his chances.
Growing. Concept's answer is to lock onto Zamudo, who flashes away. Double stun onto Wildcard, but out they go. So both top laners without their flashes.
Big deal for Will to actually match that, recognize it as a possibility. Again, Nunu's that kind of champion. You can sacrifice farm, look for plays and dives all across the board, so that recognition saves Concept's laning phase in a lot of ways because Zamudo also had to go for that flash.
Yeah, you don't want Jax to fall too behind when Concept is trying to be able to usher that lead, and Jax being somebody that can threaten so much in the side lanes, but he can hit you hard with that stick. You will also have to be afraid of him in the team fights. But Wildcard, a lot of their focus right here, because of that scaling that they have, is even if they're not always getting these super aggressive kills onto AOE, just being able to take some sums and keep them kind of on leashes, basically, is what they want to do.
Right. AOE, again, a lot of this is that you have a lot of utility, you have a lot of setup here, and your damage is kind of spread out across the map. Again, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Dark Wings to be able to use that death mark, take out someone like Lens, Soligo, or Zamudo. So I'm definitely keeping my eyes on him and seeing how he's going to be able to perform in those later stages when he's going to be the difference maker. It's also really important for AOE to find very clear advantages when they go for objective plays. Because if you don't know, Nunu has his consume, his Q, does true damage to minions and monsters, and it does a lot. At level 9, Keel will have a fully developed smite, when neither he or Will actually have their real smite to be at that level. So he's a problem. You need to make sure you can keep him away from objectives.
And I am so curious to see what Keel does with the rest of this pick once the Absolute Zero comes into play. Will wants to ensure that Keel doesn't get too much in this jungle and does draw the flash from Keel. Meanwhile, on the top side, Concept falling into a scuffle with Zamudo. And Concept will have to be wary of that snowball approaching. Dombre falling low. Breezy looking to see if he can get a slow. Exhaust has been used onto Lynx, but with the Ranger focus, the completion is good. Dombre killed, and on the top side, Concept falls to Zamudo.
Yeah, and you saw how quickly Keel got there. The speed buildup from the biggest snowball ever and the Scuttle Crab means you can get through the river very quickly. Keel spending a lot of time ganking, very much like what Will did for his laners in game 1. This time around is going to cost Keel a camp there in the Raptors, but realistically, you're really happy with this one. But looking at this replay too, really well played. Again, this lane is really hard for Lens and Dombre, who overstepped. Dombre really needed to land that Winter's Bite, and at this point, he was just never going to live. It was over.
Yeah, too good of a lockdown from the enemy side, and this is where we saw that Keel was making that way up with that snowball. And I think when you're looking at the bot lane for AoE, zoning in a bit more on that play, Ashe is a pick that has come back into prominence on 13.12. They made changes to her to bring her back both in bot lane and support position. And she has that flexible utility, whether it's the vision that you get with the Hawkeye or the lockdown from her Enchanted Crystal Arrow. And pairing that with Janna, even though you're not necessarily thinking of this as a big damage output bot lane, but it's that harass, right? The knockups that you get with the Howling Gale, just that incremental slowdown and being able to catch individual members like Dombre, who's going to take some time before, as Braum, you build into something tanky that can offer more protection from the team. It's good on AOE to get those early advantages.
That's right, because Dombre is going to be able to do a lot for the team when we get into team fights later on. So finding whatever advantages you can with the better lane matchup that you have is really important here for Lynx and Breezy. It also means that hawkshot you were talking about, it's going to reveal Keel. Means that Will knows he's pretty safe to go for a top lane play. There's actually no vision. You guys saw the content bit. Mudo never buys pink wards, and he's pretty bad at laying down vision. But it's something Will does not actually want to try and punish.
Oh, I actually wonder how many wards Zamudo had bought in the last game as Will steps up to Keel roll quick. Try to contest. Stun up onto Keel. Zamudo here for an attempted answer. But Keel has fallen, and Will hovering and try just for a moment, but doesn't look to be making the play. Dombre moves forward. Doesn't quite connect with the Q.
Yeah, you use the Glacial Prison to secure that kill onto Keel. You know there's no dive to happen, but it's a good punish. Part of the issue that Will faced for a little bit in that first game was that he had a delayed level 6, but Keel wasn't able to take advantage. That is not the case here in game 2. Will happily goes for the solo. It is gold into his pocket, but as he gets back on the map, it does mean that you can't really do anything about this Rift Herald. You're playing into Nunu, your top lane is pushing really hard, you're just happy with the guaranteed fact that you can finally pick up this dragon and not worry about it getting stolen.
We have so many icy champions between both of these teams. I was just thinking, it's like
oh
the
yeah,
Braum,
a lot of Freljord.
Yeah, the Braum, Ashe, Sejuani, and then Gil coming in on the Nunu. I know, I think I heard Joshi was talking about it, how, remember when everyone would be like, yeah, glacial comms, because when TFT became a thing.
Right.
All the Freljord champions under there. As a TFT player myself, I always enjoy when I get to see TFT compositions actually arise in League of Legends games. But alas, they are a bit separated onto the two rosters this time around.
Who knows? Maybe the next game or on a stream, we'll see an all Freljord composition. I'm trying to think of like what that would even look like. First of all, they would all be matching in terms of colors. I would love that.
Yes. I need a novel on the Freljord kind of region. Actually,
I would read that.
Yeah, let me concept falling a bit low to Zamudo. Backs off. Recommendation I should have made to you when we were talking about books earlier, and to anyone watching that likes League of Legends. There is a full novel, Ruination, that was written by
really?
Anthony, yes, from a Riot employee who works on story in League, and it tells the story of Viego and Callista and kind of that and the Blessed Isles, how they became the Shadow Isles. I would recommend that to anyone who is like, man, playing League of Legends is not enough. I want to experience it in other ways. That's one way to do it.
I need to be inside Runeterra. That's a good suggestion. We'll check that out.
It's a good one. You might not like Viego as much anymore after.
I don't think I did from the bits that I know.
Him.
Oh, okay.
Zamudo, though, doesn't like anybody right now on AOE. And Keel making the play again over on that top side.
Yeah, a lot of pressure coming through here. There's no Herald to play for, but the fact that Concept is getting a little bit of breathing room is important. Zamudo's up 30 CS, or rather 20 CS, and is able to deny a bit of gold and XP from this Jace. But it's just to give him, again, a little space here. Zamudo's still in a very strong position, still going to be a big poke and damage threat later on, and it's just more of what we talked about with AoE, needing to be the ones to get the kills going on their side here. They're sitting at 3. 2 of them are on Will, but they need to keep that going and continue stacking up these Drakes. Work towards that soul.
I'm stacking on up. Still got over 2.5 minutes until that next Drake spawns because of a bit of delay on the previous one. Worth noting, a bit of a CS lead for Soligo down mid, as expected with the range. Down here in bot, we have seen the continuous pressure of Lynx and Breezy using their range to be able to get that poke onto Dombre, push Lens back towards that turret, kind of the name of the game. While topside, that's where the junglers have been coming for all of the action. Another snowball from downtown gets the flash from Concept. Concept continually losing that, and now going to lose some plates as the Rift Herald has been dropped by Keel. Will is going for the wraparound.
He has no ult.
From River. Does not have the Glacial Prison, and Keel immediately setting back onto him, gets a bit with a Snowball Barrage, and Darkwings here. We haven't seen him get any bloodshed just yet, and finally grabs one with Zamudo. I know Darkwings has been waiting to get in on the action on this Zed, making that roam up top. Of course, Soligo is answering by focusing down some of the plates.
So that is going to get him a little bit of a lead. Even out the gold Darkwings picks up on that kill. But Darkwings, he's feeling really good now. Already had that first item.
Emperor's Divide to knock Darkwings in the face of Keel. And the fight continues as Will goes for the crash of the Q. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow doesn't land onto Keel nor Soligo. So no more chance for Darkwings nor Will to collapse.
Yeah, nothing else is really going to come from it here. They do deny going the use of the death mark, going ult for ult there mid lane. Nothing else really comes of it. AOE, gold is even. We look across the board, but they are starting to get some gold onto their carries. We saw the kill Lynx got earlier on. We saw what Darkwings picked up just now. And Darkwings is still going to continuously be that threat into the backline of Wildcard. He, ironically, is a bit of that Wildcard in these team fights because of how mobile Zed can be, how hard he is to pin down, and how easily he can pop squishy 80 carries like Aphelios.
And a lot of games, how they are won, are through those squishy carries, right? So when you have somebody that's picking up the Zed, and you're basically telling them, that is your job. You need to get past the Braum.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you don't get ushered too far by an Emperor's Divide. Be wary of Keel. And as long as you can get to Lens, then we're good. Soligo also, will work to try and build up some power through time too. Again, that scaling for Wildcard means that their focus is just try to diminish any lead that AOE tries to accrue. And the lead that they're trying to get right now is one in Dragons. They have the Scuttle Crab in their favor, as well as some of the deeper warding, trying to get these controls taken out.
Yeah, but look at this. I like Keel's move. Uses that biggest snowball ever to help Soligo get that wave push, delay the start of this dragon for AoE. And this one's going to be tough because, again, even though Keel's a level behind, he has a much better smite because of the consume on his Q.
Keep on rolling, lands onto Janna. But there's Q taking the dragon. The attempt right now, Emperor's Divide knocks two of them away, and Breezy wants to get in zone to ensure that Lynx can continue to rain down with the arrows. But Darkwing's over the wall, tries to do some damage. Dombre already low. A channel attempt, and Len takes down Breezy. A good stun up to follow here to ensure that Will can't get back into the play. And now Lynx is on the retreat. One more slap will do it. Triple kill coming in from Lens. The damage is good on the Wildcard side.
Wow.
As the Quadra follows up. Can't get the Penta because Concept's still up top. But nonetheless, trying to answer one back onto Zamudo, who flashes over the wall to ensure the kill. Breezy did just spawn, so you don't get that ace nameplate right across the top, but basically that.
That was fancy from Zamudo. Nicely played, but look at Lens. How about a quadra kill to get you a bit of redemption for how things went into game one? Now he's getting the attention Wildcard needed to pay him in that first game, and you're going to see what it culminates to in this replay. Again, you can't do objectives in the face of a Nunu. It is as illegal as things get. It is too easy for him to steal, and that Glacial Prison, it came out a little late, unfortunately, because Keel had enough time to flash Q Smite. And look at Lens's health bar in this fight. Really the only thing that matters. They took so much damage from the dragon on AoE's side, and Lens is just free hitting. And it literally doesn't cost him anything here. The Monsoon gets zero value while he continues to cash out.
Yeah, Janna had to Monsoon quite far from the team, so you don't even get really that knock-up, and Lynx and Darkwings were kind of just awaiting for the damage to follow up. Yep. Lens, we talked about his comfort on this pick, the Aphelios, 10th game within the split of the NACL. and being rewarded in that fight big time as Wildcard get a 2,000 gold lead for themselves. And we talked about how they're trying to wait things out for the later game, but right now getting this lead, breaking up the dragon stacking of AOE, they're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, they are basically speed running to this late game that's so good for them. And Soligo, oh yes.
And Soligo wanted to set up for Keel coming to the party. And even though Concept tries to run away, look at that speed. The chase down was too strong, so no solo laner standing for AoE in the top side means that wave will continue moving forward. AoE tried to answer by pressuring mid, but look, Keel is just everywhere he wants to go.
That's right, that extra speed from the W is so big, it gives you space to go for this turret, but they want to play.
Enchanted Crystal arrow lands onto one, but that is the frontliner. Dombre bursted on down. Teleport comes in, so the Zamudo's here for the party. And with Rift Herald actually activated and getting that slam down, AoE eventually finishing her off, but Wildcard are taking the support trade for the plays that they were making across mid.
So it is a nice catch out there. You stun Dombre long enough that you can't really do anything. And they deny the Rift Herald from actually getting the turret. That was something, one of the plays that AoE needed to make. Problem is, Lynx, no
Lynx
flash.
in trouble. Zamudo slamming on down to the skies. Can't be the wiser to the snowballs that are coming from Keel and Wildcard, making sure to answer back with a pick.
Yeah, that was, I want to be honest, blatantly disrespectful. So, Lynx gets punished for it. No flash. Nunu will take you out of the picture. And these picks are... Yeah, exactly. And this Wildcard comp is so punishing if you step out of position. So members like Lynx, like Breezy, are a little bit easier to get on top of, even with the Janna coming through here. So now we're at a point where AoE don't have much to be playing for. Their soul stacking got stopped dead in its tracks by the steal. They're losing turrets on the bottom lane. And now, after what happened before, they don't even feel confident going for this next Drake because Keel could just steal it again.
And Wildcard were able to assert some of the deeper wards, some that are just now expiring, but the movement that Keel can make on the back of the speed of that W means that Wildcard can control a lot of the vision in the jungle that sometimes takes knocking down those turrets before you're able to do so. But even with that mid turret still standing, they got so much pressure on those side lanes and can continue zoning down the areas in which AoE can move freely. That next dragon spawning now, Wildcard are pushing up on this mid lane, making the classic play on mid before the dragon comes. Double knockup initiated by Keel. Monsoon throws one of them back, and Keel channeling the ultimate, now bringing the passive turret up for some additional protection on Wildcard's side. That's a lot of ultimates that have been used. You're still holding on to the Emperor's Divide for Soligo, should he need to disengage around this dragon. But it looks like Wildcard want to try and bait AoE towards them, not quite starting the dragon up again, but instead continuing to assert that pressure.
Yeah, they would much rather look for these plays, see who they can catch out with the snowball. Keel, he's fishing all over the place, Gabby. And even though it doesn't play out the way maybe they were hoping for, they do manage to force AoE off the map, and they're able to honestly just leave this Drake uncontested. They had a lot of low health bars. They wanted someone to answer Concept's push so he couldn't get this tier 2 turret, and instead, they would much rather let AoE do all this work of clearing out vision, trying to make it so that maybe, possibly, hopefully, they could go for the second Drake. But you already know Wildcard have their sights set on it.
Wildcard. They are looking for it, that's for sure. Soligo did have to go towards top because of that wave that was pushed from AoE to answer back and make sure those meet back at even. But Dragon still up all in the passing time. We've seen kind of that line of scrimmage return to normal. Keel hanging out on Baron. AoE rotating over, though.
He's spotted out on that blue trinket. You get a lot of health when you use Consume on monsters. So there was a world where he could actually just 100 to 0 the Baron. Just, very slowly.
Time.
Yeah, a little bit of tickling, a little bit of nibbling, and they would have gotten the Baron buff in their hands. But instead, he's got all of AoE sequestered mid lane, and that is just within snowball distance.
Just gonna keep throwing those out to try and keep AOE at bay, who have reclaimed a lot of their jungle so that they can kind of push back up to this river line. But as we can see, Wildcard are already on the dragon, and AOE know that they're able to burn it quickly when they do have the entirety of their team there, so cannot step up to it. Snowball answered by a Howling Gale here by Breezy. But still, Wildcard making sure not to break apart from one another.
That right there has got to be the perfect example of the tough situation AOE are in. That was 2 of their big CC ultimates, Gabby.
Yeah.
Nothing. They had to run away after. And they realized there was no angle for them to play for. We're talking about item spikes, and Lynx goes for the DPS build here, is going Kraken Slayer, went into IE. He's looking for that extra crit damage. And for Dark Wings, he's at 2 items. Not the items you usually see for Zed. Usually more lethality, so that you can blow up squishy characters very easily and very quickly, but is opting for health and sustain here with this build while still doing reasonable damage. Darkwings hasn't been able to make good on the Zed pick, but he's got a good angle to maybe do so now.
Wildcard bring in with the teleport. They're sticking onto the Baron. Darkwings is looking for the angle, but Keel has secured it in the
death mark.
And soon, one exhaust used onto Darkwings, but the concept blown low. Breezy tries to disengage here with the Monsoon. Zamudo flashing over the wall, but as low as concept is, he tried to go into it, answered by the Emperor's Divide, counter-striking away from it, stun onto Zamudo, but AOE, with many of their members way too low to be able to stay in it, they back off Enchanted Crystal Arrow, landing onto Keel to buy some of that additional retreat time.
Wow, so even though it is a Turo Baron buff earned, no one dies in the ensuing fight. I will say Lynx was doing a lot of damage coming out here, but Wildcard, they get the empowered recalls, they get the upfront gold they earn for themselves, and they're just continuing to push towards these critical item spikes for these champions. Lens was already at 2 items before that one came through. You see Keel just now bought the Thorn Mail as well, which means he's going to be very happy into basically AoE's entire composition. So it's just going to be, again, the interaction here. Darkwings hasn't been able to get any kills, any assassinations, and I keep harping on this because it's very important. It's why you pick this champion, so you can get in the backline and blow someone up. We haven't seen it happen yet.
Maybe it'll make all the difference if Darkwings can get that single pick into the backline of one of these fights. Wildcard just have Keel and Dombre willing to focus on their carries and keep them protected. And right now, all focus is on that tier 2 in mid, knocks it down. Now Zamudo is duking it out, but Keel's coming through with the snowball. Concept retreating towards Darkwings on that side, trying to sidestep some of the snowball hits here. Soligo coming through from the jungle as well. AOE send the entirety of their team to march and stand strong against Wildcard, who want to take another tier 2. Right now, it's all about sieging as much as possible with this remaining minute that you have left with the Baron, but you can be happy about the turrets that you have gained thus far.
Wildcard, they just keep on stacking the paper as they still have the Baron for less than a minute, maybe one more push as they start aiming towards this bottom tier 2 turret. But yeah, I agree, it's a very successful Turo Baron buff here for the side of Wildcard, and just a clear resurgence compared to what they were able to do in game 1. That is not very much. But it's a good look here in the second game, and more of a reminder of Wildcard being that team who started the day off as our second seed, second in the standings behind only Team Liquid Challengers.
Yeah, if Wildcard can get a win here, it's a good way to prevent a slippery slope. They went into yesterday's matchup where everyone thought, okay, Supernova did 2-0 Wildcard the first time around, but Wildcard are clearly the better team. They're going to make easy work of them. They split 1-1. You say, okay, 1-1, not too bad. They maybe have some things that they can learn. It's difficult when going against Quackers Olaf, but okay, we'll make work of AoE. And then they lose that game and think, okay, all right. Second round robin, not as strong a start for a team that's looking to be one of the more dominant ones. And if you end up losing 0-2 to AoE, maybe you start getting a little nervous. You feel that sweat forming on your brow slightly. But instead, having so much confidence in this game number 2, a lot of comfort picks brought to them, having this 6,000 gold lead for Wildcard at 26 minutes into the game, and just being able to execute not just in the team fights, but where they decided to assert their pressure, which was a lot of it trying to prevent Concept from getting to online. We talked about that Concept is undefeated on the Jax, 3 games already, and there were multiple times that Keel went towards topside to get those flashes out, and now that the game is cracked a bit more open with the turrets down and we're in that late game, Wildcard have made good work of their scaling comp.
Oh yes, they've reached all those big item spikes coming through here. We're even seeing stopwatches start to come through as we get into the later stages of the game, and these team fights become more and more crucial where every second counts. Oh, I don't think they actually can they?
AOE, they're committed to getting this tier 2. Soligo goes into stasis and flashes back just to ensure he survives. But even with that said, AOE were already using some of Janna's utility just to be able to increase the likelihood of their escape. But a turret taken.
Yeah, that is something. The stopwatch comes in clutch for Soligo, letting him save his life. And it's looking like he sold it instantly. So he's not actually looking to build towards the Zhonya's. He's going pure damage, pure DPS. And once he builds that death cap, he's going to be doing a lot of that one here. And really, the thing to keep your eyes on is this Baron. It's why you see Wildcard on this top side of the map. They've already shown us they can take it down very quickly with this Azir, with this Aphelios, and this Jace.
Zamudo holding his own against Concept, but now in the 2v1 decides to set his sights on Will, goes into stasis on his own. Concept backing off because he doesn't want to have to duel until he can get the final slap. Does manage to get it, and Zamudo has fallen. We'll see what Wildcard can make happen on the other sides of the map, because there's 42 seconds until Zamudo spawns, only 20 seconds until the Baron.
Oh, hello.
Heal and friends, they say, okay, we're down 1, so let's see if we can just push back AoE until we can get Zamudo back. And that's what they managed to get, a flash out of Breezy. But all ultimates available on both sides. Zamudo has the teleport as soon as he does spawn, but AoE will be the first to rotate into the river.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough ask. AoE feeling desperate enough that they may go ahead and start this. Zamudo's up in 8 seconds. He has teleport and have an angle.
Plenty of wards into the back of it. Heal channeling the ult and blasting away. Multiple teleports coming on in. Dombre gets stunned up. Concept leaps onto Keel, who has to walk it out of there. Lens from over the wall throws a Moonlight Vigil, and Darkwing's trying to connect, but could not land the damage. Zamudo now venturing forward, and AoE, they can't go onto the Baron just yet.
Wildcard, they're feeling confident about it, though. No ults remaining on AoE.
Even though AoE, they do have the numbers, but you're right, no ultimates.
That was an interesting call. Seems like AoE feel confident about starting this up again. Like you said, numbers advantage, but this is still a Nunu. They have to look to blow up Keel first.
Nunu throws in the snowball. Soligo had the range, ends up killing Concept. Darkwings goes in the backline and has to flash away. Zamudo keeping his eyes onto Will, who's been separated. It's a double kill for Soligo thus far. Darkwings uses the blast cone to separate. Lynx, Soligo wants it.
Shifting sands.
Look at the damage from the creeps. And a fallen soldier at that, at the hand of the manipulator of the Sand Soldiers, Soligo. And Soligo will just go mid while the rest of the team secures this Baron. And Wildcard were able to make work of the last time they had the Turo Baron buff, and will do so again.
And that was a good look there from AoE. They had numbers, but it wasn't enough in the end. The gold lead for Wildcard ended up coming through, and Lens, before falling, he did a lot of damage in this team fight. I gotta give props to Darkwings. He got that kill in the backline we were hoping for here. His death mark came off of cooldown, and right there, after that auto attack, Lens was dead to rights. On top of that as well, this is why the multi-threat comps are so big in the current meta. Soligo, even though his 80 carries out of the picture, he did a lot of damage in this team fight, and he did have a nice little chase, the Lynx, where he inevitably took him out of the picture.
And Wildcard, It's not the greatest gold lead that they have had, but pretty much close to 5.8k for themselves. 2 minutes left on the Turo Baron buff. They had already previously asserted pressure on here mid, and now Soligo having to use the Emperor's Divide to separate from the rest, and Keel centered among way too many red health bars. Wildcard are just shuffled into the jungle. There's 15 seconds to go until this next dragon spawns. This would have been Soul for Wildcard, but they can't go for it without their jungle. Instead, they're going for more of a siege, focusing here on the bot side. Zamudo knows that he's giving his life for it, tries to draw as much attention from AOE as possible, while the rest of Wildcard attempt to claim this inhibitor. They'll get just that. Kind of awkwardly positioned here. Like they know that they're all about to die pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
They're seeing what they can do in the meantime. Can they get concept? Just another hit will do it.
Wait, are they gonna do it?
Turning on to Will, Darkwings gets exhausted. Lynx picking up the kill on Dombre.
What?
Oh, but it's the even trade so far. All of the members of Wildcard now eliminated. Of course, 2 of those having already been dead. They weren't a part of that fight. And Keel, just coming up, is going towards the dragon. And yes, Lynx is alive. Yes, Darkwings is alive.
Yeah.
But Keel is also here and kind of ready to make something happen.
Maybe. They blew him up last time. They're probably in a good spot to do it again, but oh, they got him.
Yeah, I think and teleport that he's trying to go towards, because of the wards and things that were down from AOE and venturing up into the enemy jungle, Darkwings and Lynx able to make their way towards the river. Then at that point, difficult for Keel to make work of them. But what he did do is make sure that Lynx and Darkwings couldn't go to the dragon. And now that is still something to potentially fight over if Wildcard can get back into position, though they still have 25 seconds until Keel comes back into it.
Yeah, I don't think that's really something to be going for here. Pushing mid, sending someone topside is what really should be focused on here for Wildcard side. They got kind of caught out on the bottom side there. That's why you saw them push for the inhibitor the way that they did. At least they were able to get that on top of the extra turret gold. But AOE, a good pick, a good collapse. Not only do they pick up an objective bounty, they get some shutdown gold from Wildcard in the process. I mean, giving props to Wildcard. They did go even in a 3 versus 5, which was kind of insane. But AOE, they're kind of clawing their way back.
Yeah, they've sliced that gold lead almost in half for Wildcard, and that's definitely something to be happy with when it's Wildcard that have been working with these Baron buffs, taking over the map. You see the bounty's still there for AOE atop these turrets, but can they make something happen in the team fight against Wildcard?
That's going to be the tough thing. So much, again, I gotta highlight Darkwings. You're playing the Zed. You have so much gold and so many items. We've seen what he can do against Lens. Front to back is not the way for AOE. It's being able to use your CC and making space for Darkwings to make the play. And that's basically going to be the deciding factor. Can Darkwings kill Lens? No? Tough scenes for AOE. Can he kill Lens? Maybe we see a 2-0 on the horizon.
And at 35 minutes into the game, we'll see if it can be flipped. Zamudo going towards the top side. Darkwing zoned off by Soligo and Zamudo, but teleport's coming in. Got to get a full-fledged team fight. Darkwing going for the hit onto Soligo, going into stasis as well. Concept gets a single lock, but it's Darkwings that's the first to fall. Soligo over the wall he goes. Concept then next as well. A decent stun up onto Will. Multiple knockups onto members of Wildcard because of that Howling Gale, but nonetheless, Soligo's back into action. Double kill for Lens. And even with members having to flash out and get out from Wildcard, as soon as they get back in, they can reap all the reward in the team fight. Going for the play to get the ace. Wildcard out on top in this one.
And it was such a great team fight at the end there. They forced Darkwings to use his ult just to save his life, giving Wildcard all the firepower they need to tie the series 1-1. They will not lose both games to AOE.
Breaking it even, Wildcard scrapping it back.
And it was a good look. This is the Wildcard we're used to seeing, Gabby. Game 1, I gotta admit, it was good props to Will and AOE for how they played the early game, but Wildcard still kind of rolled over and died in game 1. But this time around, that is not the case, as Wildcard managed to show us a bit more of why we expect these things from them with a good performance.
And Wildcard knew that they were well positioned if they could get to the late game, and they were able to hold their own in consistency early on. Also, just good to see some of the unique picks across the board.
Yeah.
Nunu coming on in. And you have to commend the attempt from bringing the Zed here to try and answer and counter, and was able to get that one pop onto Lens in that single fight, but had a lot of difficulty in burning down.
Yeah, it was a good idea. It was a good lane matchup into the Azir. It was a great way to bypass the front line, but the damage wasn't really there. Ravenous into Black Cleaver. Yeah, you get haste, you get sustain, but you don't get that balloon popping like damage where you're going to be able to knock people out instantly.
All the balloons are intact
Yes.
on the stream today. But we are going to ready ourselves for an interview and our closing thoughts on the day. So enjoy this break, and we will see you soon.
The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. Find your drive.
Welcome back, everyone, to LCS Challengers. I'm joined with Sligo of Wildcard after a pretty rough win, back and forth with AOE, going 1-1 apiece. How you doing, brother?
Alright. Just alright, honestly.
Yeah. It was quite the battle. I want you to talk to me about the draft in game number 1. You guys did let Ziggs and Triss through. It was something that AOE were hyping up on their socials like crazy. Was that the problem for that game number 1, or was there something else going on?
It definitely didn't make our lives any easier, the fact that they had Ziggs Tristana, and I think we kind of had a misread on how certain matchups would go and just the draft in general. And I thought that, honestly, they had like a pretty good draft that game, and I thought that, yeah, our game plan was like pretty hard starting from minute 1.
Now let's get on to game number 2. Keeping the topic on the draft, Kiel gets Nunu. You guys have a history of picking some of these more hype picks. How do you guys formulate drafts around those picks, at least keeping those picks in mind?
Well, I think usually with a lot of these picks, it's like we don't usually try to base our entire team comp around them. It's more so, it's like some of our players, like such as Zamudo and Riven, heal up for like Kiel and Nunu. I think they have like so many games and they're so comfortable with the champions that if they see the angle for the pick it in draft, then they can just say it whenever, and then like we will fully trust them on those picks, and like the comp will just adapt to whatever they think is good.
So you just have full faith in some of your more quirky players like Zamudo and Kiel. That's that's real nice to hear. Staying on the topic of game number 2, there was Zed lock-in during that draft. Was there any worry once you saw that snapped onto the Rift, or was this already in the bag for you?
It was definitely a surprise. I was definitely expecting more of a meta matchup, but like I think none of us were really scared of Zed. I think generally there's a reason why you don't see the champion that much, and I think that as long as we're not like too thrown off by it, then the champion is generally not good.
Wildcard have a reputation of playing more towards team fights, so I want you to take me into the trenches. Who calls for the setup and who calls the fight?
Usually, at least with our system right now, it's definitely just a combination of me and Kiel, like doing a lot of the prep work leading into our fights, and then I think usually the other members do a good job just following up and like listening to the calls.
Yeah, there's been a lot of team fights where we see particularly you and Zamudo just cutting out these flank points that other teams can take into you, and it's been a real joy seeing how you guys actually work together. So getting into that, how much communication do you have with Zamudo now that he's the newer member of Wildcard?
He's generally like more of a quieter person, so I think it's still a work in progress for us. Like I think specifically the communication between me and him still needs to like grow a lot in order to get to where we want it to be.
Yeah.
But I think like when he first came into the split, he was generally like pretty much not saying anything during the entire game. But now, like he's saying, like a good amount now, and I think as long as we keep working on that, it'll be good.
He's warming up to the space more and more as he plays.
Yeah.
All right, I want to get a little bit more into your story now, Soligo. You've been with a few orgs, 100 Thieves, Dignitas, Evil Geniuses. Is there anything that sets Wildcard apart from those experiences you had in the past?
I would definitely say if there's one thing, it's just Wildcard just gives off more of the feel that we're like kind of like a ragtag team, kind of, because there's just not as much pressure from management, and like obviously salaries are way lower. We're playing in a tier 2 league, and like for the most part, it's like the roster is everyone wanted to play with each other on this roster, and on academy teams and LCS teams, that's not always the case. So I think on this roster, all of us like each other, and I think that's just one big difference between like Wildcard and just all of your classic LCS teams.
It's good to hear that you guys are actually bonding together. Now, going back to week number 1, during an interview, you said you considered Fake God to be your rival back then. This is a 2-part question. 1, is that still true? And 2, what about mid lane rivals, man?
I mean, I think I only said Fake God as a rival because I had to give an answer. I don't really consider myself or consider anyone else to be a rival. Like, there's certainly like other strong mid laners in the league right now, but I wouldn't say I particularly have it out for any one of them.
All right, that's fair. You know, keep it more calm in the mid lane. You don't gotta get emotional about it or anything like that.
Exactly.
Reflecting onto your performance in the first round robin, how do you feel you did, and what are you looking to improve coming into the second one?
I think the biggest thing... Wait, what was the first part of your question? Sorry.
How do you feel you did in the first round robin?
I think I did fine. I think I just did fine.
There's
I
a
think
little hesitation on that.
Yeah. Well, I think some aspects I'm doing like well in, and other aspects I'm not doing, like I'm not as consistent in. And I think especially just going into the second round robin, like even this week, I think the bigger focus for me and just our entire team in general is like, as you can see in our games, there's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of like kind of unpredictable moments, and like we have to save the game a lot of times with just good team fighting. And I think for us, it's about like minimizing the amount of times that or minimizing the chaos in our games and making it just more stable.
All right, last little question. Zamudo right now is kind of just having fun, messing with you in chat, saying stuff like "O Nation," "No O Nation," "Top 1 mid not even considered." Do you got a response to that? Do you got a response to your teammate?
The Ona is pretty good, I will say, but not quite a rival yet.
All right. You got any shoutouts before we let you go?
No, shoutouts to just my entire team in general for just trying their best throughout the split so far, and then shout out to all the fans for watching, and shout out to my family.
All right, I want to thank you so much for joining us, Ligo. You always give great interviews, so we wish you the best of luck on the regular season, and see you again another time.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring the casters back on the desk to close out. I want a mid lane rival, man. I'm sorry. I gotta get one. I'm with Zamudo. Get O Nation in there. Let's go. Sligo versus Odat.
Trying to get a rise.
Some players, they're just chilled, relaxed. They're not looking to start problems, and other players, they're like, oh, you want to know what I think about that person? Well, and then they just go off, and it's great.
Yeah, we're trying to get all our mid laners to fight now. Yesterday, Shochi was calling out some members in Wildcard. Sligo, that was your chance to call out Shochi back. I'm just saying, brother.
I know, he doesn't care. So respect. He's all about the grind. That's what it's about.
Shoulder.
Let Solio be.
Yeah. You just won a game. They want to relax. They got to play tomorrow. Remember tomorrow?
You know what? That's fair. I will let it go, and we'll bring up the standings to let this man relax. So let's see how things have been shaping up. What I've been noticing is around this 2nd to 4th position, it has been a battle. These names just keep swapping.
They have, and it's worth noting DSG, who we talk about and kind of meme on a little bit for a splitting series all the time. They 2-0'd Team Fish Tacos, which has gotten them, ahead of FlyQuest, as they now drop to 4th place, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, that means Taco is in a bit of trouble, because that's 2 0-2 finishes thus far this week to kick off the round robin. They face Supernova tomorrow, and maybe that's an opportunity to scrap it back. Supernova are coming off of 1-1 splits, but admittedly off of difficult opponents in Wildcard and Maryville University. So still lots of shake-up potential in the middle of these standings.
But I will say this, over on the right side, everyone was within a win of each other outside of Maryville. So again, top 8 make it into playoffs. So there still is a chance, but that chance is shrinking with every win you don't pick up. Got to make it happen. Well, we're going to start closing out for the day because there are games going on the LCS _ Challengers stream as well. As you can see, FlyQuest and TLC will be doing battles. So be sure to stay tuned and stick with us there. We want to give a quick thanks to Rally Cry and Monkey Bubble as well as all the players and the viewers as well. And a big shout out to our sponsor. LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car sharing marketplace where you can book any car for just about any occasion. Forget about boring rental cars at Turo.com. I want to thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time tomorrow. Don't forget, same place, same time. We got more league action.